You're listening to Across the Pond, a show about improving the lives of British expats living in America. Brought to you by Plan First Wealth.
Hey Rich, how you doing, my friend?
Hey Tom, I'm good. I mean, the pound's at 117, so within that context, I'm good. How about you?
That hurts. I am hot. UK heat wave where I am. So let's get this podcast into the shortest time possible because the sun is beating on this room.
You had to turn your fan off.
I had to turn my fan off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyone watching this can see Tom slowly cook through the next 30 minutes or so.
Or slowly unbutton, which probably isn't appropriate.
This is our commitment to you, our listeners, and the British expat community, is Tom's willing to slowly marinate alive in a British heat wave minus AC, but it's good for the environment, so.
Something like that, yeah. Take the positives. Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay, so what's on the agenda today?
We are talking about US retirement accounts. So we've already done UK pensions, so up next. US retirement accounts for British people in America.
Yep.
Are we the best people to speak to about this?
Well, we're probably not even the best people in our firm to talk about. Like, this is not going to be a masterclass on US retirement accounts. Like I say, we are not even the most qualified and most knowledgeable people on this in our firm. We have Martha and James and Sandra, 3 CFPs to help us out with that. The point of this then is really, it's about what do we think British expatriates who are new here or have been here for a while, what do they need to know about the system? We've come from this overly complicated, convoluted, complex UK pension system. Probably haven't even got fully to grips with that. And then you throw it into into a new world of where it's same but different. And you've got to learn it all over again. You don't just have to learn a new system. So oftentimes you have to learn if there's any overlap or interaction with the UK system, and it's just
it's not just new terminology, it's new ways potentially that different type of retirement accounts are treated.
So caveat, this is, as I say, this is not a masterclass on US retirement accounts. This is what do we think, based on our experience and our knowledge, that Brits in America want to know about US retirement accounts to help them make the most of being an expat here.
Yeah, kind of driven by the things that we get asked most by Brits that we speak to. Yep.
Okay.
Should we start with 401ks?
The famous 401k. Yeah.
You might have heard of that one.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
So this is, I would say, this is the most common one, I reckon, for our clients. Well, I keep talking about our clients. This isn't a podcast just for our clients, but I think about the person who comes over here. Most of the time, not always, obviously there are exceptions, but a lot of the time it's senior execs on a intercompany transfer, and these people are going to be offered usually 401ks with their employer, or 403bs if it's a non-profit, and there's another government one. Okay,
it's 457.
I haven't got any clients with it. So
457B is that
457B. Okay, yeah. So that's a local government one, but the main ones are 401k if you've got a private employer, 403B if you're for a non-profit. I think they're largely similar. There are some differences, but they're largely similar. And for our clients, mostly it's and the people I think who'll be listening to this, they've been offered or they have a 401k through work.
Yeah. Exactly. And it works very similarly to like a defined contribution pension that you would have probably paid into when you're in the UK.
I mean, it is a defined contribution pension. It's a pot of money. It's an employer sponsored pot of money with a investment company. The main one is the most famous one I'd say is Fidelity Net Benefits. Obviously there are others, and the company takes responsibility for it to a certain extent, and usually offers a match. And let's say the company will put in 3, 4, 5% and match your 3, 4, 5%. Sometimes I'll put more in that's not doesn't require a match. Each is unique to your company, but it's very, very similar to a UK company pension scheme. It's employer sponsored. There's tens, hundreds, thousands of members. Your company puts money in. you put money in, there's often a match, it grows tax-free, in inverted commas, I mean gross roll-up, where it's not taxed annually. We'll explain more on that. I don't want to just throw jargon around. And you use it to you get tax relief on the way in, so it reduces your taxable income because it's then it grows tax-free, but it's then taxable on the way out.
They're quite simple. You don't need to do much other than sit down with your representative of the company, probably your 401k person, and say, okay, so how much do you want to put in, and what's your risk tolerance or your age, and then they'll deduct that from your paycheck, and then they'll put you into a portfolio based on your risk appetite or your age. Usually,
I think most of that now, Tom, is all automated. I think you go online, you do a risk profile questionnaire, you either go into the default option, target date
based on your age,
or you select from the usually limited range that the company is deemed to offer.
Yeah, and you can put in about $20,000 a year in your own personal paycheck, and you can get a match up to that. And then if you're older, you can have an additional $6,500.
These figures could be out of date. I think it's 19.5 if you're under 50, with a catch-up contribution if you're over 50 allows you to put another $6,500 in or something, and your company can put in another 20. I think the maximum is about 50 grand a year.
Yeah. I think it's just over. Yeah.
No, you're right. 61,000.
60
or 67.5. This is what I could say. This is not like we need to call Martha. We need to bring Martha into the show and have her answer the specifics, and she can also teach me how to say that word.
It changes every year, though, doesn't it? It increases every year.
Yeah, it increases every year, pretty much. Yeah.
So you knew last year's numbers, and some of them from 2008 or something. Then.
Yeah. So, what a couple of differences, though. I mean, there's a lot of differences between the UK company pension, but what are some main differences? So, people in the UK expect to be able to access their pension from 55. It's a bit different. The retirement age to access money in US retirement accounts is 59.5. But a big difference is you can actually get your money out of a UK retirement account beforehand. Sorry, a US retirement account.
Yeah.
10% penalty and taxable, but you can get it, where in the UK, basically, you don't stand a chance, and it's from age 55. One of the unique things about a 401k, though, is some of them do allow you, as I understand it, if you retire from your position with that company, some of them allow you to take benefits from age 55, penalty-free, and that benefit is lost upon transfer, or rollover, as they call it here. So that's always something that we're on the lookout for. If we have someone who's leaving employment at 56, 57, is that a bell or whistle that we don't want to lose? So that's something to look out for that's unique. And this is because, as I understand it, 401ks, 403bs, and IRAs are under different systems. So there's this legislation called ERISA, which governs the 401ks, 403bs, and then
do you know what
IRAs.
That stands for?
No,
and
then the IRS, the tax code deals with IRAs. So whilst I certainly think of them like they're the same thing, they are actually not. There are some significant differences because they are governed by different legislation. So another difference is that a lot of 401ks offer a loan facility. So you can actually, rather than take money out and perhaps suffer a penalty, you can actually, some of them, it depends on, it's scheme to scheme specific, that word again, allow you to take out a loan. I think it's up to $50,000 in a single year, I think.
Can that be in any circumstances?
I don't know. I've never actually done it. I just know it's an option.
There's a loan facility available within some 401ks, yeah. Or most of them, I think.
I think most of them
have that. Yeah.
Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's not something I've ever actually done. I just know it. I know it's often an option.
And the loan facility wouldn't have that 10% penalty, but it would be capped at the £50,000 limit.
Yeah.
Annual limit. Yeah.
Right. So, anything else on 401k? So, someone's come over. They've got a 401k. The company's offered a 401k or a 403b. Should you save into it? I think if a company's offering a match, our answer is always yes. It's free money, even if you go back to the UK. Probably there's some facts, but you might want to think about it more. If you definitely want to the UK, maybe you want to look at that in more detail. But just as a general blanket, generic answer, yes. If it's free money in inverted commas, yeah.
Yeah. I do get that question quite a lot, actually. People moved over. They said, "Well, my company's now offering me a company scheme. Should I take advantage?" Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's as you said, it's free money and gross tax free and goes in pre-tax. So just take advantage of it if it's available to you.
And I guess we'll talk about if someone goes back to the UK later. But if you're saying, but I'd still say it's beneficial. But if you're staying in the US, then it's a no-brainer.
No-brainer, yeah. They still work if you're in the UK, but we'll go on to what might be a better option.
There's no contribution limits like there are in the UK. In the UK, we have this lifetime allowance.
No upper savings limit. Yeah.
No upper savings limit. Yeah. I mean, there's annual limits that you can put in. I don't believe there's like an amount over which you are punitively taxed like you are in the UK.
Yeah, the counterintuitive lifetime allowance tax, where you
can see what I think about the lifetime allowance tax. Yeah,
if you save £1 million, we're going to tax you twice for being such a good saver and investor.
Yeah, makes no sense to me.
We're not a big fan
anyway.
Okay, should we do different types of retirement accounts? That's sort of the main company ones.
Well, yeah. So a lot of people come over, get a 401k, leave employment, retire, whatever it might be, change jobs, and then an IRA often becomes more relevant, an individual retirement account. So you can save annually, separately to a IRA. There are contribution limits, and depends whether you get tax relief. I would say most people we encounter and who are watching this probably his main one is a 401k, but then they roll that once they leave employment. They often roll it into an IRA. Why? Because they get more control. Simple as that. More control, more access to more investment options than the limited range they'll have with their the company scheme, and it just I think that really is about it. It just gives it. There's more control, more investment options over an IRA than in a 401k.
Yeah, 401k is cookie cutter style investing, and within the IRA, it's just open for you, your advisor, to tailor that asset around your plan. Ultimately, your retirement plan.
But the same sort of rules, right? 59.5 access before that is allowable, but with 10% penalty plus income tax rate at your marginal rate. I don't think there's loan facilities from an IRA. I don't think there's any access from 55 penalty free under any circumstances.
No. So there are pros and cons of, you wouldn't just default as soon as you leave, roll it straight to an IRA. Like most advisors probably just automatically say, right, you've left IRA. You want to review it and make sure, like your circumstances, it makes sense to roll it over. Yeah, we get the question quite a lot though, Rich, don't we, about Roth IRAs. So, do Roth IRAs make sense for the type of person which we generally sort of speak to, which I would say high earners?
Well, look, let's explain what we mean by Roth first. Roth is, on the face of it, a great option, right? So a Roth IRA, for those that don't know, well, it's an IRA that the money in it has already been taxed. One of the benefits of an IRA or 401k is that you get tax relief, so it's money that hasn't been taxed. But with a Roth IRA, it's money that has been taxed. It's either taxed as you're putting it in, or if you're doing a rollover, the whole thing is taxed. It goes into a Roth IRA, it's been taxed, it then grows tax-free and earns income tax-free, and money that comes out of it is tax-free. So if you can get a sizable chunk in a Roth IRA and let compounding work its magic, you could end up with a lot of money in a Roth that's growing tax-free and you can take it out tax-free. That's a huge benefit. Potentially. I think probably the most relevant for a Brit to think of is it's like an ISA. I mean, you cannot roll a UK pension into an ISA. But the mechanics of an ISA, you put money in that's already been taxed, you invest it, it grows tax-free, you take it out tax-free. This is all for UK residents who aren't US citizens. PSA, if you are a US citizen or a US resident with an ISA, an investment ISA, that's bad news. That's for a different topic, for a different time, but just beware. But if you've had an ISA in the past, and you know how that works, Roth IRA is analogous to that. Now, we get asked this a lot because it's a big topic in the advisory community, and because it's a potential way to reduce taxes. I'm skeptical of how often it works for our clients and the people who are listening to this, because first of all, to contribute to it on an annual basis, you have to have there's income limits, and these income limits are generally the people that we encounter are exceeding these income limits, so they can't contribute to it on an annual basis. Then in terms of doing a Roth IRA, a conversion, you're going to convert a big chunk of money into a Roth, and that big chunk of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, is going to be taxable in that year at your marginal rate. Well, if someone's already earning hundreds of thousands of dollars and is in a higher rate tax bracket, it's that's an expensive. Yeah, if someone's out of work for a year and has no other income, great.
Or just before retirement, like you retire early and you've got a couple of years of not working, then it could make sense to do it. But you're basically paying the taxes now, hoping that the taxes will be higher in retirement. But if your retirement expenses are lower in retirement, then you're going to be paying less tax.
Yeah, and I'm scared of getting savaged by American Roth IRA advisors who are much better at this than I am. But like, if you're 30. Right, and you've got the opportunity to do a sizable Roth conversion and then allow it to compound for 30 or 40 years. Tremendous. If you're 60 and you need income, look, if you can do a Roth conversion, keep the tax rate down on the conversion and then leave it for a couple of decades, great. But if you're going to start drawing on it immediately, I'm not convinced as to the benefits. I'm not saying there are none, and in certain circumstances it won't work. It will work. Sorry, I'm just. Whenever we've looked at it, I've come away, for in specific cases, I've come away deciding that it's not the right thing to do at that time.
Yeah, there are some circumstances. People going back to the UK, that's when it can make sense to look at a Roth conversion, because you could pay your taxes in the US on that amount. So you transfer from an IRA to a Roth. You pay taxes in the US, which are actually lower, generally speaking. You're lower in the US, and then when you pull the money out in the UK, the UK would observe you don't pay tax on that distribution either. So it's a cleaner way, I think, of taking money out of a retirement account.
Yeah, I think we just probably need to clarify there. That really, the reason the UK would hopefully not tax a Roth is because of the double taxation agreement. We're not tax advisors, consult a tax advisor. We're actually going to talk about double taxation agreements and stuff on our next podcast. But that's why, as I understand it, the UK will observe those benefits or not respect the tax structure.
Yeah.
Of a Roth.
Yeah, they say that because it's don't want to go into the nitty gritty, I guess, but because it's not in the taxable in the US, it's therefore not in the UK. Yeah, but yeah, that's I would seek advice before making any of those changes before you go back.
So that's Roths. What I'm about to move on to actually is not specific. I don't think it's even a feature of Roths, and that's something that might take expats by surprise, which is RMDs, required minimum distributions.
Yeah.
So if you have a IRA, you assume this applies to 401k as well.
An IRA and a 401k, yeah.
At a certain age, which I think is now 72, It used to be 70 and a half. I think it's now 72, and it's different for inherited IRAs, so that different rules apply. But if you've got your own IRA that you've contributed to, or you've converted your 401ks into it, from age 70 and a half, you have to start taking withdrawals, and it starts and you're penalised if you don't, and it starts on a lower scale, and as you get older, that ratchets up. And the reason for this, if anyone's wondering why, is because you're getting tax relief on the way in. You're putting money in that is not getting taxed by the US on the way in. And then it might not get taxed for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And even longer if they didn't do RMDs. But at some point, the US wants to get some of that money back, get some of that money back in their coffers.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have this required minimum distribution requirement that forces you to take taxable income out of your retirement account, so they can start recouping, and you want to do that because so that's going to need planning to be aware of it, and making sure that when this kicks in, you're taking income, you're factoring that income to your different income sources, so you don't end up with a surplus and paying more tax in that year.
Because that can happen, because once you get your social security, let's say you deferred that, you get your social security, you get your UK state pension, maybe you've got a defined benefit pension coming in, and then you've got your US retirement accounts giving you more income, and it's like between 3.5% to 6%, depending on your age. But if you're having to withdraw that amount every year, plus your other income sources, all of a sudden you're getting older and having more and more money, and you've got less and less probably. You've probably got less and less need to spend it, and it's just going to be taxed. So that's why it exists, because the US want their tax money.
There is a UK. I wouldn't say it's an equivalent, but a similar system. We have our enforced benefit crystallization event at 75, even if you've already, which is where your pension is tested against the lifetime allowance, and there can be a secondary test at 75 that can basically force you to pay additional UK tax that could have been avoided or mitigated or reduced through taking structured withdrawals in earlier years. The UK system is actually simpler, I think.
It's simpler. It's more flexible, and the US. If you live to 80, 90 in the US, that money is just going to keep on coming. Yeah. So
there is no tax-free lump sum benefit like there is with the UK. There's no in the UK. If you're a UK resident taking UK pension, you can get a 25% PCLS, pension commencement lump sum, which actually doesn't need to be a lump sum anymore. But there is no equivalent in the US. There are similarities with these systems in that money goes in tax deferred. Companies contribute. At a certain age, different age, but at a certain age, you're allowed access. In the UK, there's no access before that age, which is 55. In the US, there is access before that, which is 59.5, but there's a 10% penalty plus a tax.
Mm-hmm. Plus tax, yeah.
That in the UK, you can take a tax-free amount, either at outset or ongoing. In the US, you can't.
The US and tax-free don't harmonise today.
Yeah. You in the UK, there are caps to what you can put into both systems on an annual basis. In the UK, there's also effectively a cap on what you can put in total, the lifetime allowance. In the US, I don't believe there's any equivalent of that. Let's talk about if someone goes back. So if someone leaves the US, they worked here for a number of years, and they go back to the UK. I suppose this is relevant to go elsewhere, but I'm going to stick to the UK because you're then getting down to specific treaties, and it all gets a bit messy. And so a lot of this is topic for another podcast. If you are going back to the UK as a US resident, as a US resident, you are going to be subject to US taxes on your worldwide income. There should hopefully be treaty relief under the UK-US treaty, but you're still going to be doing US tax returns, and you're still going to be subject to certain US restrictions. So it doesn't really make a difference if you have 401k or an IRA. There are differences, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make a huge difference to you. If you are going back as a green card holder, you've got to be careful because the exit tax could apply. Exit tax applies if you have a net worth of more than 7 million and you've been here for more than, I think it's 8 years, and partial years count on that.
A net worth of how many? Sorry?
2 million.
2 million, yeah.
And there's another one as well, based on how much tax you pay. But most people, in my experience, if you've been here more than 8 years, a lot of them have a net worth of more than 2 million, and then they're in the net. And then it does make a difference because you are going to be subject to the exit tax as what's called a covered expatriate. And if so the 401k or an IRA count towards the net worth, but then in terms of calculating the tax, it's different because a 401k can be excluded from that because then when you take benefits from it, a mandatory withholding is applied. An IRA is just included in this, and there can be a big, nasty surprise shock there. Again, this is tax advice, and this is very specific. This is very specific to someone's circumstances. So we don't want to go into too much detail on this, but just the point we're trying to make is, if you're a US citizen, you've just got ongoing obligations, no matter where you are.
Ongoing reporting obligations, yeah.
And ongoing taxation obligations as well. Mm-hmm. If you are not a citizen and you're on a green card, you need to be aware of the exit tax and whether you are what's called a covered expatriate or not. If you are, it's going to be it's different whether you have a 401k and an IRA, and you might want to defer making any decision on whether to roll it over, and if you haven't already, until you understand this situation, you've taken professional advice.
Yeah.
But I would say you shouldn't fear being in. You asked before, should a client save into a retirement account, a US one, even if they're going back? And our answer is yes, because as long as you manage it properly, you're going to have a tax deferred retirement pot that as long as you take good advice and you do everything correctly reporting wise, you can use for your retirement in the UK. You're always going to have currency risk, because I am not aware of an IRA that lets you invest in pounds.
No,
or withdraw in
not
pounds.
like you can.
That doesn't mean to say there isn't.
Which invests in dollars. Yeah. But that being said, you can just withdraw on that account and speak to the brokerage or whoever's managing that money and ask for that over the course of your retirement. Mm-hmm. So they do work. They do work for people back in the UK.
Yeah. We've got clients back in the UK who've got IRAs. Yeah, we're using it to fund. They're in retirement right now and using it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What have we missed? Have we missed anything? Should we wrap up?
Let's wrap up.
Good.
Let's wrap up. I'm scared. Like I say, this isn't our. This is. We're on shaky ground here for us as non-Americans. Like we've worked here long enough. I have a good understanding that this is why we have our associate planners and CFPs in our firm who can certified financial planners. I'm chartered. Who can help us? Who can navigate this and really understand this. My background is the UK. Right, so that stuff is embedded in me. It's all a bit out of date now, perhaps, because it's a shockingly long time ago since I did my exams, but it's embedded in me. So yeah, let's wrap up there. Hopefully that was useful for expats.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some
Brits in
information
America
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. What the pension system's like in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've got any questions or any follow up, or if that rambling has led to any questions, then by all means reach out to us. You can find us on our website, planfirstwealth.com.
And next time we're going to talk about. So we've talked about UK pensions in the US. Now we've rambled about US retirement accounts for expats. Next, we're going to talk about other pensions. So we people who have been on a tour of duty and worked around Europe or Japan or wherever it is, and they've picked up these other assets. How they treated, which really is actually more of a discussion about double taxation agreements, or starting to introduce double taxation agreements. So that's what we'll talk about next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Across the Pond. This podcast is brought to you by Plan First Wealth. For more information about Plan First Wealth and Across the Pond, visit us at planfirstwealth.com. If you like this episode, consider sharing it with fellow Brits across the US. You can subscribe to future episodes in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision.